Yeah, but first we have to do the thing. Purvis, cereal takes now.
Cereal takes. What is the worst cereal?
The worst cereal?
Yeah, worst cereal.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. What would be
Shit.
the worst cereal? Because like we were talking about some of the best cereals, and there's some clear ones.
Without it recording. But
I was just curious because like I feel like a lot of people talk about this.
really?
Just like in terms of like just like a tier list, because like
yeah.
I feel like if anything, cereal is the most like relatable breakfast item. Like everyone eats cereal. Like I don't know anyone that like genuinely doesn't eat cereal.
I probably don't like cereal as much as most people, but I eat it. Like I always have a box of it. Like
I'm gonna be honest. I know I might get some heat for this. I don't like honeycombs.
I haven't had those in years. I haven't had those in years.
Like, yeah, I like honeycombs, but like I get it. Like they have a weird texture. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Once they're soggy, it's over.
My hot take. Here we go. Not a fan of Fruity Pebbles.
Ooh. Yeah, actually,
too fruity.
I feel that. I feel like I've been leaning more away from sugary cereal as I've gotten older.
Definitely that.
That
like,
too.
Yeah, I was talking about that with Purvis. Like, I can't even. But even when I was a kid, I thought Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't make sense mixing it with milk. I don't know. What about you, Jasper? Do you have any cereal that's like everyone loves this cereal, but it's just like it's
for me? Yeah, for me at this point, it's got to be Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
You don't like Lucky Charms?
Well, I don't mind it, but think about what Lucky Charms actually is, right? Like you've got these
marshmallows.
You've got these little marshmallow bits that have a really pretty unpleasant texture unless they've been soaked for a good while. It's like very like dry and crunchy, almost like a lemon meringue type.
They are dense. Yeah,
exactly. And then you take those out.
Everything you're saying is facts, but I love
it. Yeah,
I will admit there's a certain nostalgia to it, but that doesn't make it good.
It's literally, I was just telling you, like, I love Captain Crunch, but like, I can only eat one bowl. If I eat a second one, the entire roof of my mouth is gone.
I can only do multiple bowls of like relatively.
Yeah, like, and you look at
I cannot do 2 bowls of cinnamon. Probably the
Cinnamon Toast Crunch slaps. I do like me some Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It does slap.
That is like, I feel like that's also, it's like a very crowd pleaser answer. Everyone like.
I feel like Frosted Flakes is like also just like overall beloved. Like everyone likes Frosted Flakes. It's hard to go wrong.
And Frosted Flakes don't feel that awful. They don't feel too sure.
That's true.
They don't, but they really are.
But they are. They are. Yeah. They're delicious. Like I was just saying, Frosted Flakes in my office fuck me up. Like,
every morning.
Yeah, dude. I get coffee from the espresso machine.
Hey, that's a solid meal for me.
I write copy for a bank.
It's hard to beat that. We have pretty good lives. Yeah. All right, well, I guess we can just jump right into it.
Show on the road. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Packed episode.
We do.
Yeah.
We have a split episode and a lot of good news. I think something very exciting has been coming up that we all want to share.
3 topics.
Yeah, it really is.
And I don't think we'll spend too much time on either one of them, but not like hours like we usually.
This will be a good episode, but we will keep it short for everyone's sake. Yeah. But jumping right into the news, let's get started. Starting off with their albums. Brandon, I know you texted me about this. This is super exciting. The Weeknd is releasing the Live at SoFi.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun watch.
Was this and I just don't know. Live at SoFi, is this the one in LA?
Yeah.
Or is this a different location? Okay, LA. Okay, this is super exciting. I'm here for it. Yeah. This is in reference to the newest album, or is it just like the full?
Yeah, I think it's just like a full concert, and I think it's like tweaked a little bit so it looks better on camera.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like it's similar to the Kendrick Lamar thing that was on something.
Yeah,
some streaming stuff.
It's a live performance, not like a. That's not Guava Island. But it'll be a fun watch. Okay. Yeah.
But I will be visiting that. Interesting enough, Creed 3 already is like full release, right? It's
Yeah,
out?
tomorrow.
Okay, it's out tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's my mistake. I was like, why is the album coming out after the movie? But that's on me.
Yeah.
Dreamville is releasing the Creed 3 soundtrack. I did look at the features. It looks like they expanded, very similar to the Revenge of the Dreamers type of idea, where you have people from TDE in there, a couple of loose people,
Yeah.
some people from Chicago. I think it looks amazing. I should ask because you had the benefit of seeing it already.
Yeah.
Do
I got to
you
go to
think
an
the
early-
music fit well?
Here's the thing. So they played all the music while you were in the theater waiting for the movie to start because
So dope.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
But here's the thing. As I recall the movie, there's only like one scene that has like a Dreamville song in it. And it's the J. Cole song. Like, it's obviously the heavy hitter one. And let me tell you, it is like one of the best needle drops I've heard in like modern era. Like just how
really,
like just how well, it works. Because like it's a Rocky movie. It plays over the training montage, and like
that's hype.
the beats of the verse are matching up with the beats of the punches thrown in the.
That's pretty cool.
Like,
okay, that's a good delivery. I like that.
This is a thing that like it's kind of like irksome when hip hop shows up in movies and it's not like sometimes it's really so you can't really hear like the dialogue and like it usually sounds like they're competing for your attention. This is just so the Creed 3 absolutely fantastic. Big fan of those movies. Big fan of Rocky. Real quick, I was actually lucky enough to be on the Real Critical podcast with my buddy Parker. Talk about the first Creed movie because it's the best movie decade it came out.
Is the podcast released?
Yeah, it's out. I'm gonna be putting it. I'm gonna actually be putting in the.
Perfect. Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
shout out to Patrick.
Yeah, shout
Our
out to Patrick,
fans, go visit Patrick.
Yeah. So if you're want to listen to me talk about Rocky movies, hour.
Because who doesn't like Rocky movies?
Who doesn't like Rocky movies? Like,
to be fair, I know you're gonna hate me for this. I don't know if I've seen the original Rocky movies. So,
you should change that.
Yeah.
You'd like them. They're sports movies.
There's no doubt. Yeah, I would like it.
If you like the first Creed, there's no way you won't like Rocky. Like,
okay, I'll have to visit. Jasper, have you seen the Rocky movies?
Nope.
Nope. Yeah. So
Jesus
sorry,
Christ,
Brandon.
A bunch of infidels.
I'm sorry. There's plenty of other movies that I can
I know
you
all
hate
the
me for.
references. I've seen the pivotal scenes out of context, but
that's
other
than that,
the best way to experience movies, obviously.
yeah, I mean, you just digest it through pop culture references. You watch
Yeah.
enough Simpsons and enough Family Guy, and eventually you get all of it.
You'll get all of it. That's honestly so true. But moving on from that, we have Masego coming out with the self-titled Masego album. Some strong R&B vibes, so I'm excited for that. Young Nudie, who never releases music when music normally releases on Friday, dropped an album in the middle of this week. It is so weird. I went back to actually double check this. Every single album that Young Nudie has dropped literally is like on a Wednesday. It's like on a Tuesday, Wednesday, random in the middle of the week. And I just feel like that's bad marketing, but it is what it is. But after that, a lot of other names that I personally follow, but I know they're not like huge names. But Jordan Ward is coming out with the album Forward. Slow Thigh is coming out with Ugly, who is a British artist. And then Kenny Mason is coming out with a little 3-song EP. Super excited for all of those. But I know they're not like big hits, title name people.
I feel that. Yeah. I'm excited for Slow Thigh. I remember really liking the album There's Nothing Great About Britain.
I was gonna say he has a lot of collabs with just like people we know.
Yeah,
he has collabs with Denzel Curry. He has collabs.
Brockhampton,
I can go down the list. Yeah. So literally Brockhampton.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna be listening to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Moving on to the singles and videos that we have. Black, Slack, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. He is coming out with an album. Finally got a release date on the 24th of this month. It seems like forever since we got new music from him, but he did drop a single with a music video. I did not have a chance to listen to it. Did either one of you listen to it by chance?
Nope.
Playing around with the DJ thing.
We'll be getting to that. Some other videos that came out. We have Joey Badass dropping Show Me.
Yeah.
That was on 2000. That's super hype. Excited for that.
Love that.
The album didn't hit for me, but I always appreciate his quality of work. The most random thing that's happened, I feel like, in a while.
This is a weird. You think they just did it because
it's a J thing?
It's a J thing.
That's literally. That's literally what I was thinking. It might be a J thing. Do you think
they're going to do a line with J. Crew?
It wouldn't surprise me.
It was interesting.
They'll probably have their J's on.
Yeah. And they'll be smoking.
J-Hope might have J's. I believe it.
I mean, in the Kevin's Heart video, he's wearing Chicago ones.
Yeah, there you go.
For like all of the 5 seconds he's on screen.
Literally the 5 seconds.
I love that video.
It's a good video.
Thanks for
Yeah, but I mean, interesting enough, J. Cole and J-Hope is dropping a single called On the Street. Very different collab. I'm here for it. I don't know if I've ever heard. I don't know if you would classify J-Hope as K-pop.
I would say that's probably close enough.
Okay, close enough. Fair enough. I've never heard of a K-pop hip-hop song. That's mixed.
Come fight us, pop stands.
No, we're not gonna have
all the K-pop stands who listen to this podcast.
All the K-pop stands. All
right. The two people. Literally the two people, Eric.
See you, Shaquille.
To all those, what is it, like this? Something like that. Yeah.
Turn off.
It looks like a butt. It looks like a butt, not a heart. Not gonna lie.
Just a little heart. But I mean, which interesting enough, I saw on Instagram earlier, they have been knowing each other for a while. It's a very, I don't want to say awkward interaction. It's just two different cultures. It's like J-Hope is meeting J. Cole. And J. Cole is just like dapping him up, calm as ever, and J-Hope is like almost fangirling, and it's just like, oh.
Secret lovers confirmed.
But yeah, I'm excited.
No, that's great. I'm into that.
Yeah. Moving on to the actual news. Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces.
A lot of big news stories. So let's break them down one by one. Actually.
Yes. Someone beloved by all the community, Kid Cudi, has confirmed he has an album coming out in the fall. He will be releasing singles in the summer. I believe this is leading towards Men on the Moon 4, I'm assuming.
That's my theory. I really think this is...
I know there is some like snippets of Solo Dolo 4 featuring Playboy Cardi that he released. I'm here for it.
That would be good. That'd be dope. I'm not even the biggest. I'm not even the biggest Playboy Cardi fan, but I like that idea. Like,
that's an extreme combination. Bring back the raging Kid Cudi.
Yeah, no, Mr. Rager, bring it back. I'm into that.
Literally.
Yeah, maybe it's into Cud too. I don't know.
Look, either one, I'm here for it. So that's super exciting.
I have a question for either of you two.
Okay.
Did either of you buy it when he said "Man on the Moon" or "Enter Galactic"?
No.
Yeah.
Because we went to the concert and he said at the concert that he was gonna. It had been 5 years and he was coming back more often.
Yeah.
Really?
He literally said at the concert.
He said that at the concert, then directly contradicted himself in like press for whatever reason. And I was like, nah, that's bullshit. He said on stage, he's like, I'm gonna come back sooner. I'm making new shit. New shit's on the way.
That's cool.
New single out this weekend, and then dipped, and then like immediately contradicted that.
Yeah. Well, that was in the run up to Enter Galactic. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love a controversy,
but he specifically mentioned that he was going to tour more often. That was like the thing, because he's like,
love that. I'd love.
He's like, it's been 5 years. Yeah. He's like, it's been 5 years since I've been to Chicago. 2017 to 2022. He's like, I'm gonna. Oh, he basically said,
"Was this 2017 show the last time he was here?"
Yes.
I was at that show.
Me too. All of us were.
No, I ran into Purvis later that night.
Oh, sure. Purvis! I thought you were
that
there.
Was our
Never mind.
origin story. Yeah, no. It's like that
I was
episode
there.
of Community, Threads of Fate. It's like,
what was it, like Saturday, November 4th, 2017?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
A day that will live in infamy. Let me see.
We all knew each other, but didn't know each other.
Origin story of the
what a time, man.
There was a time.
Yeah, November 4th. I was right. Look at that.
And there you go.
Yeah.
But that's dope.
Yeah.
Exciting.
What I would say then, unfortunately, I do have to switch it back up. I'm going back to Dreamville. This is super hype.
Yeah.
The Dreamville Festival lineup has dropped. Many big names for what is on all of the social media platforms that everyone's talking about is the J. Cole and the Drake collab. We don't have many collabs from them that I can think of.
I can't think of any.
I was about to say from their discography.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Like, I know they've like referenced each other in the past. Like, you've heard like people, clips from like J. Cole. Shouts about on Middle Child.
He does a remix to Pipe Down, I think. That's the most recent thing I can think of. But interesting enough.
Do you think there's a collab coming?
That's the natural direction that like you always want to go, because like interesting enough, I feel like the four biggest names, I won't say the most successful, but like the biggest names that we think of is Kendrick, J. Cole, Drake, and Kanye, at least in the modern era. And like it's interesting because like they don't have a lot of collabs with each other.
Oh.
It doesn't really get too intertwined. We begged for a Kendrick and J. Cole album that just never came.
R.I.P. Black Friday.
We got one Black Friday release on SoundCloud, and that's it. So this is super exciting. I have no idea what they're going to do. If it's anything on the level of what Drake and Kanye did at the live performance, this is hype. That was super dope to me.
That does sound cool. Like yeah. I love the idea that like if they actually had music to drop for this, because it seems weird to do a collab headline when you don't have
right. I feel like they got to make a song now, right?
But like, what do you? Like, what does it sound like? Is it Life is Part? Like,
I have no idea what direction they can take with each other.
Is
that would be a dangerous a J. Cole era of him, and it's like
for a truly lethal summer. Like
we would. Look, between us three, we'll be acting stupid. I know that.
Be incredible. My girlfriend would like.
Who knows? Maybe J. Cole can knock some sense into Drake and humble him.
Yeah.
With all we can hope for. Yeah. But the name that I just mentioned, unfortunately, this is not good news. I just want to get through it quickly because it is relevant to the podcast.
Oh yeah, it's relevant. Yeah.
I know. The Kanye and Adidas partnership appears to be either back or back in development. I'm just gonna say this, and we can move on. It was never, unfortunately, about moral decisions. It's just about the money, and it really sucks.
I agree. It's always like these kind of businesses are always going about money. The language, our culture,
it is what it is. It's all a business. This is the ugly side of some of the rents that I make. Yeah. But I do realize that this is the negative things that could come out of it being a business. But yeah, Kanye should have been canceled years ago, but that's a different conversation. We'll get to that. We're gonna look, Jasper. I did promise you we're gonna have an eventual end of Kanye era episode.
A funeral for Kanye.
A funeral for Kanye. This is something we literally talked about like from the beginning of our friendship.
Go to Lake Michigan and do a Viking.
He does not deserve that. In like he doesn't get that positive kind of outro.
We'll hire singers to perform "I'll Fly Away."
That's a good touch. That's just a really good touch.
Just the beginning. Just the one bad Good morning.
Yeah.
I love the idea. We can make it happen.
I can't wait to see Adidas get like
a lot of backlash.
Sanctioned by the fucking German government for anti-Semitic rhetoric because that's illegal in Germany, the place where Adidas is based. So,
Very good point.
we'll see what happens. I think they're flying pretty close to the sun, and I think it's pretty unintelligent of them, regardless of how much money they're leaving on the table.
Right. I think if I recall correctly, it would have been a loss of 1.3 billion, and this is supposed to save 500 million. So you're not even getting half back.
That's not a dub. How much money have they made off the Kanye deal over the years? Like, cut your losses and just let it go. I don't know. My opinion, obviously, but
if we ran a business, I think we'll be great CEOs.
Yeah, sure.
But enough about the bad news. Something that is fantastic news.
Kind of cool.
It's really cool. I didn't really know about this. My brother, shout out to Isaac. We haven't mentioned in a while.
He kind of brought on the show, Isaac. I promise.
Yes. Yeah, real soon. He brought it up to Brandon and I. We have another group chat from Spotify has its new DJ feature. It's technically still in the beta stage, I want to say.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very deep in the beta stage. Trust me.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about it.
It's dope. Jasper, do you want to take the lead? I feel like you've had the longest experience with it.
I've been messing around with it all day, and I was messing with it yesterday too. Yeah, it's super interesting. It basically takes machine learning and basically like a text to speech system and applies it to create like an artificial DJ on your phone that helps cycle music and cue things up. It's basically the closest that I feel consumers yet have to the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, in the sense that it's a little man who lives on your phone who recommends music for you. The cracks are definitely there. It's still very early beta product. What gave it away originally, the natural speech, sounds really good at the start. The first artist that it played for me was Juice WRLD, which it called Juice WRLD. So immediate immersion breaking there. Yeah. But then it queued up, and one of the strongest things about it was its ability to literally just like cue into songs and seamlessly put them together on beat. It was unbelievable. I was really impressed.
I have a really interesting... Who sent that to me and I was playing it?
Yeah,
I had something really interesting happening with it. Because I was listening.
Let's hear it. Yeah,
I
sure.
was listening to it when I went to the grocery store. And I hit it, and it was like, "All right, why don't we listen to metal now?" And I'm like, "Okay." And all the
it's like a perfect flawless
every
transition.
Song was in the tempo, in the same tempo.
It does that. Yeah,
all the blast beats for the drums were like consistent across all the songs. Crazy.
You want to know what it did for me? Yeah. So for the first one that I really took notice of this was it took Kendrick All Right and dropped it into Nights, which is wild.
Yeah. What a collab.
On beat.
That was 2016.
And then after that, it took Nights and put it into Tequila Shots.
That's dope.
Kid Cudi. And then after that, it took that and put it into I Don't Even Speak Spanish, LOL, X.
Mm.
And then it took that and put it into Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
What a range. What a range.
But it was like perfectly in sync every single time. And it dynamically adjusted like the fade in and out so it could like fade part of the intro that didn't match and then line up the part that does and then cut the other song out. It was just it felt so intelligent with the way it was doing it.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
I think that's the best feature in terms of like having it be AI generated. Because don't get me wrong, like I love a live performance of a DJ and having the skill and ability to know how to transition songs. Even if people claim DJs do it beforehand and they just press a button. Regardless of all that, having this AI have the capability of taking like BPMs and taking certain sounds and being able to like actually put it together, it's you have to see it to believe it, because I feel like
it really is
everyone's
wild.
DJ, right? Everyone's DJ is personalized, specific to your taste. So when you hit play on your own DJ, you will instantly realize like this is dope.
What does the voice for yours sound like? I want to know if they all sound the same in terms of the way they talk.
I don't know, like
I'm trying to remember because I only listened to about 4 or 5 songs today. I know, or I've heard other people take like screen recordings, and I've heard that they do have transitions where the DJ will jump in and be like, "Now we're gonna do this."
WROD there. So I'm gonna be here every day, playing those artists you got in rotation, going back into your history for songs you used to love, and I'm always on the lookout for new stuff too.
Mine sounds
just to push
similar,
your
but
boundaries
not
a little
exactly.
bit.
I think a little different.
Yeah,
Mine might be a little different.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting too.
Give me 1 second. Let me try this.
R&B from the 2010s, starting with something from Kevin Abstract. You know, it can be a lot of fun to check out.
It's similar.
It's similar.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
But even still, regardless of all that, I think in terms of innovation, I was telling Brandon earlier because I know Brandon said he was going to have a rant, and I do want to get to that. I want you to like go through that as well.
Rant now, like I think just because I've used it, and also I just feel like you guys are going to agree.
Oh, really? I mean, what was it? I had no.
Go off, King.
I just think like a lot of AI tools that have come out in the last few months are like they're tools, and like I think a lot of their existence borders on the unethical, right? Like I think the way like Chat GPT, like the immediate impulse to use human labor of things, like I think like that makes it unethical, right? To an extent, right? There's a coin, other side to it, to an extent. But this, I feel like because it's playing off like a feature that's normally done algorithmically and not by human labor, it feels like a next generation step up. And I think it might be like the most ethical use I've ever seen. And that was the thing that kind of like shocked me, was like, oh, like here's an application for this technology that I feel like is in bounds and excellent execute. Right? And the other thing I think that's cool is like because it is so personalized, this really can never take the spot of a real DJ. Like they're not competing for the same thing, right? Like you never could. I think it's
just a feature in the app.
Exactly. And I think like that's exactly how I would describe it as a feature. Whereas like Chat GPT and those AI image generation, I think those are more right. Because like I think the flip side is for like Chat GPT and like those AI generated things, right? They could be used as part of like a workflow, actual artists. They have validity in that way, right? I don't think a DJ could actually use this, but I don't think that's really a mark against it. You know,
I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think like it's just a framework for looking at like different types of AI features, and I think this is the most compelling one I've seen.
I would generally agree, but I don't believe that the tools themselves that have emerged using this, AI or model-based learning so far and training are unethical in and of themselves. I think it's the use cases and the methods used to foster them that are unethical. So I think it comes down to the human element of it rather than just like
if
the fact that the technology
exists.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I do not think they are inherently unethical. I think even ChatGPT,
it takes someone to do it.
But ones that do threaten like human labor, I think there is a way to use 100%.
And that's actually a big talking point in the community right now. There have been so many kind of scares about, the fact that creative work is now going to be this landscape that's going to be eroded in this way. But a lot of people who work in the field are effectively saying, hey, the intelligent and the forward thinking of these creative people in these fields are going to find ways to supplement their own work and improve its quality using these tools rather than just be replaced by it.
Yeah, well, I already know people who have incorporated. I work with art directors a lot.
Yeah.
So I've seen people incorporate AI into their work. So I 100% think that is a way of the future. I definitely think, just as a writer, I think that has a little bit longer of a way to go. I think, because I played with ChatGPT, just like the photos, like when you start to look at the fingers, when you start to look at the details of the writing. Like I put in like, oh, do Game of Thrones, and like at first it was like, and there's the kingdom of the bumblebees, and it's like, oh, this is cool. But then you realize it's using the same adjectives.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and it's like, do I think it can be a compelling tool for a real human creative to use? 100%. I just think like the framework of the world right now, like the way the world is right now, it is primed for, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think they're inherently. I just think like it's like giving it's like, introducing elements primed for.
It all depends on the actual individual person, because like obviously we're gonna come across situations we've already heard, and I've already seen like TikToks and videos and people talking about like, oh, I'm in nursing school, but I just use Chat GPT for like blah blah blah. And it's like obviously there's very clear negative backlash things and like issues with you cheating in school because you're going into health. Like I don't want a doctor that's like going to not know what they're doing. But obviously you can use it in a positive sense as well, because I feel like a couple months ago we were literally talking about somebody making an AI rapper. Like obviously that's like all the way on the other scale. That's clearly messed up. You can't make an AI rapper. That within itself is wrong. 100%. But like it's okay to have this, and you know how to like monitor it.
And that's exactly my point. That I think this is like in a space where it can't be like it's only going. And the other thing I like about it is it's a purely unbranded as of right. Spotify.
It doesn't seem like anyone's paying money for their songs to come up more recent.
Exactly. It's exactly that. Spotify, if you put a little bit of effort into it, it's good. It's not super hard to get all the branding, but it's a very brand focused platform. So having the DJ just be unbranded.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, every evolution in technology comes with its own rampant abuse, and we've seen it over and over again. Like, are either of you familiar with the boxer Jack Johnson?
I know Jack Johnson.
Well, that's a music artist, but in the 19 teens and 20s, there was a famous boxer named Jack Johnson who was based in Chicago, and he was the first ever black heavyweight champion. Yeah. And Jack Johnson used a lot of his winnings to buy, at the time, brand new automobiles, which nobody had really, automobiles were not a thing that people owned. He's the reason speed limits were implemented in the downtown Chicago area, because he would race his automobile through the streets and potentially endanger people. Yeah. So, like, speed limits became a thing because of this abuse and yada, yada, yada. So,
he probably escalated that. Yeah. He most definitely brought it sooner than it needed to be.
Yeah. He's black and he's having fun in the 20s. Get him.
Get him now. Absolutely not.
He also really liked white women, and, people didn't like that either.
No, so, it's a bad mixture.
But he was heavyweight champion in the world. What the hell were they going to do about it?
Oh boy, yeah, they definitely missed some slavery then.
An exciting character in the Chicago history space.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's dope though.
It works super well.
I highly recommend anyone listening. It's not hard to navigate through the app. If you do have Spotify, I would find it. Listen to a few songs, see if you enjoy it or not. In my personal opinion, Spotify is fairly innovative. They've tried the blends, which was okay. They tried your mixes, which I think is kind of dope. I feel like the end of the year rap has been solidified within our culture. I don't know if they were like the starters, but now everyone has a rap. I would put this up at the scale of like a Spotify rap in terms of innovation.
Oh yeah,
this is dope.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, that's all the good. Let's talk about the bad, because I definitely experienced some bad.
Okay, I would like to hear it, because like my thing is, it felt like the UI would switch every time I looked at it.
So my UI didn't change, but what I experienced on mine was that it would go DJ, and I'm just gonna like hold it up so anyone watching could see. It would go DJ. The DJ would speak, do his thing, whatever, and then it would go into songs, and if it'll let me just like go through these, and basically it would string them all together. It would do its thing. It would then have the DJ come back, yada yada yada. But once we got past a certain part, so based on recent listening, then we go into from your past. Once it got to a certain point after that, after like indie rock, it would break. So it was like, here are songs you listened to a lot on rotation a couple years ago that you don't listen to as much anymore, and it wouldn't play past a certain point. The first song on that was If You Know You Know, Pusha T. And it would like show that it was there, and the play button would show like the option to pause it, but it wasn't playing. And I couldn't get it to go. And then I closed the app and came back to it later in the day. It started from the top and did the exact same order. I haven't been able to get it to change up the order that it's playing in. So
I was just about to say, I was looking at your phone and I was like, that looks like the order you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. When I say it's in beta, it is literally giving me one
Super
routing
beta.
right now. One routing right now. That's it. And I can't figure out how to change it. Maybe it's like an app update thing. Maybe I have to like, I don't know, sign out of Spotify.
You could definitely see the creaks. Like it's
there are limitations.
It sucks that it's only on iOS and Android, which like is how probably 80% of people listen to Spotify.
Probably more than 80.
Yeah, but the thing is, like when I'm at home, I don't.
I use it on the computer too.
Yeah, I'm on my computer. So it's like
it's not on the computer, correct?
No.
Okay.
Like I even like I was playing it on my phone, and like, but if you go to do it, it'll say it's unavailable.
So it's super beta, yeah, for sure.
But it's something I hope they develop. It's something I hope they do better. I hope they won't do everything that they've always done. Make it a
start making money.
Capitalist landscape that my eyes.
It's like, oh boy, man-made horror is beyond my comprehension. I just found an article from 2015 saying that at that point was when Spotify made the shift where mobile actually took over in terms of majority share. So in 2015,
a lot more recently than I would have thought.
Yeah, well, these metrics are not, it's hard to find anything more recent, but it says here 42% on phones, 10% on tablets, and desktop software makes up 45% as of 2015.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Because like
2015.
Isn't there a free version of Spotify that you can only use on a desktop?
No, you can use the app for free too. You'll just have ads.
Oh, okay.
It's the same kind of thing. Now, the smart among us back in the day when funds were low and you weren't going to pay money for music every month, AdBlock Plus, open.spotify.com, which is the web player instead of the actual app, and you could block the ads coming in, and you could just play your music like it was premium. Big brain time.
I'm about to say, people like us knew that, but not a lot of people probably knew that.
I did.
We just spent a lot of time on the computer.
But the fact that AdBlock blocks audio ads is very impressive. Shout out AdBlock Plus. We love you.
That actually is. That is very impressive. I'm curious then, because I'm looking at 2015, and this is just my curiosity taking over. That was the iPhone 6, 6S Plus, and the Samsung Premium Galaxy.
S7.
S7
was like that time, most likely.
Was this like the biggest shift?
This was the time when phones started to actually get good. Like you could expect your phone to last more than 2 years.
Yeah,
I feel like.
It makes sense now.
2014 smartphone revolution.
Like the iPhone started approaching its larger, more standardized form compared to the more niche size that it was before with the 5.
That explains it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's the shift.
Our coworker still uses an iPhone 6S. Just want to shout out Vince real quick.
Vince uses a 6S? That's actually not that surprising. But like hearing it is like, wow.
And then he bought like a little Nokia to use Movius like separately.
I love him. Guys, I love that guy.
It's a brown bank app that people use to get like their email and stuff on their phone securely, which I would never sign up for, but some people did. Yep.
You want to take your work home? No.
I think not.
I'm not going to do that
unless you're a manager, in which case, by all means, which we are not. So
you should
whatever.
Be.
Well,
look.
Yeah, there are other people in line.
But anywho, right. But
so we all like the DJ. We all like the little.
I'm here for
it has
DJ.
a lot of promise. Yes.
Yeah,
a lot of promise.
My vote is yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Funny, I had a funny thing though.
Okay.
Same, like right before the metal thing, right? I got a thing, and it's like doing the going back, like what you used. It's like we're going back to the summer of 20. Like I remember those. Like let's look at you were listening to. Yes. A lot of Kanye West.
A lot of Kanye West. It's like, this is true.
I was like, did the Spotify DJ just call me anti-Semitic? Like,
how dare you?
Hey man, you too can touch the sky if you try hard enough.
I do try hard enough.
That's funny. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. So we're about to dive into something that I am extremely out the circle in.
Let's go.
Master of Puppets. Like this, I could be wrong. No, Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Master of Puppets came out in 1986. It says.
Yeah.
I thought it was 87, but yeah, one of the two.
Okay. What made this like trending? It's not like a 20-year, 30-year, or something like that. Like, why is such a random year?
Because I was listening to the album and I looked it up, and it comes out. It's the anniversary on the day this podcast comes out this week.
Yeah. So it came out March 3rd, 1986. So
okay.
What? 37 years ago.
37 this Friday, baby.
My God, this is one of the greatest albums.
That's gross.
Midlife crisis inbound for Master Puppets. Let's go.
On my desk at work, I have a cassette of.
Oh my God!
I keep.
Oh, really?
Fire.
That's kind of dope.
I love this album with all.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite Metallica album.
I have a very similar relationship to Metallica that you guys have to Kendrick Lamar. Because
that Purvis has to Kendrick Lamar. But go on.
I'll take that title.
Well, yeah, because like I understand that Master of Puppets is their best album, but I prefer Ride the Lightning. Right?
I could see that. I would say Ride the Lightning is for me a very close second.
Yeah, no, Ride the Lightning's incredible. Master of Puppets is, I think it's that, they're separated by a half point. And this, goddamn, it's so many classic.
Yeah, Ride the Lightning is, I would say it's almost on par. I think it's just slightly less focused, and that's why I think Master of Puppets is just that little bit more for me.
I just love the theme.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like the meditations on death and all the different.
Now, if I recall correctly,
because we did the deep dive on Ride the Lightning.
That's what I'm saying. You had me listen to Ride the Lightning, and if I recall correctly, this was a part of a trilogy. Is this also in this trilogy?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So there's a trilogy of Metallica concept from Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I personally think I think And Justice for All is kind of. It is.
It's not as strong for sure,
and it is the worst mixed album ever. Like,
it's not well mixed.
It is
that and like very early stuff like Kill 'Em All is like I think also not on the level.
Ooh, I like Kill 'Em All. I like Kill 'Em All.
Me too, but I just don't think the mix is like very high quality, especially the early.
I think my dirtiest Metallica act is I really quite good. Not as good as like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning or Kill 'Em All, but I like it more than just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't have the same traditional views on Metallica a lot of metal fans do. Like, I don't mind a good number of songs off Death Magnetic, and I know people don't like that album. I like
a couple songs off Death Magnetic. Like the Saint Anger is the one that I write about.
True. I have to go back and look. There's a couple that I really mess with. I just haven't listened to it in a while.
But the thing I think is super interesting is, I think it's fun how Master of Puppets has become like this cultural staple. Like point where it shows up in.
Yep.
People wear it as a shirt without knowing what it is, which I think is cool. I think it's like a sign of the ubiquity of that thing in culture. Like I think that's an important step for it to take, right? And I think it's interesting to think about, like, where do we think we could out of the albums on now, like, because that was the thing with Master of Puppets, that it was immediately, it was the blonde of its.
Okay.
In a very different way, but yeah.
Yeah, it's because it was a different. It was a metal culture in the '80s is definitely very different than hip hop and R&B culture in the 2000s. But the sense that there was a culture, I think, makes it more similar than different in the grand scheme.
Purvis, just for your context here, Master of Puppets is considered so influential to the metal genre that it is the first metal recording or metal album to be selected by the Library of Congress for preservation for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
That's dope.
Yeah. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I would believe it. Today was the first time I listened to the album.
Yeah. So what did you think? I'm super curious.
Like, what were your favorite songs? I'm excited to hear this.
At least going through it. Yeah, what's up?
Just because, like, when we brought up this, I thought, like, something I've always wanted to say about that Ride the Lightning chat was that I think it's very funny how, despite coming at these from such different ways, we do have the same favorite song on the
album. That is fair. I mean, at least going into the album, luckily enough, I had the benefit of listening to Ride the Lightning, which I did enjoy. It's difficult to kind of explain what it feels like when you go into this kind of genre of music and not having any kind of background or anything to reference. Right. There's nothing I can really go off of. I love the sound. Once again, rock music, metal, whatever this falls under. Live music, 10 out of 10. Like there's just no other genre I feel like even compares to it. Even though this is studio made, I would say, and very heavily mixed in a studio.
Yeah.
You can still tell like when if you were to go to a Metallica concert, like I can completely understand the energy. I get the vibes behind it. Master of Puppets is a phenomenal song. I did not realize how long it was.
Yeah, no, it's an epic.
It is long.
It is incredible.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I find that listening to this genre of music, it is so fast paced. Like it changes time almost.
Yes.
I feel like
100%.
we've talked about this. Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this in the past. Well, I use music sometimes as a measurement of time. Like, oh, I got to drive downtown. Let me listen to this 40-minute album because I'm going to make it when the album finishes. I wouldn't be able to just sign with this album because I don't know. It's so action packed and it's so much moving at one time. I was like, it has to have been 20 minutes, and it was 5, and I'm like, what's going on?
It doesn't feel like it, but the album, it's only 8 tracks, the original album, but it's 53 minutes long.
Yeah,
for 8 tracks.
Jesus. And that's the thing, because they're known for the epics, the multiple passages, the solos.
Is this a standard in the genre? Just
this is definitely standard for Metallica.
This is the album that kind of pioneered that as a standard, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely that scope. Because without them, you don't get Slade. I don't know.
You don't get Megadeth, that's for sure.
Definitely don't get Megadeth.
Which opinions or not, Megadeth has contributed to the genre in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they have. And look, Megadeth isn't awful. Rust in Peace is a classic. But
regardless of how we feel about him, Dave Mustaine is a very talented guitarist.
Yeah, he is.
It just is.
So much.
I know.
I just fucking hate him so much. I understand the hate for Lars Ulrich, but Dave Mustaine deserves so much.
Valid.
Yeah.
I'm curious then, because you guys just said Megadeth, which I've never heard of. Before we get into whoever that is, if we want to dive into that,
we can. Yeah,
I did have one overall major conversation I wanted to go over.
Let's do it.
Because for me, all the genres that I listen to, there are very clear-cut lines between the generations and between the eras.
Yeah.
We just did a whole episode on hip hop, how there's pre-blog era and post-blog era. Like, there's very clear lines. And in today's society, in 2023, I know the types of hip hop albums there are, and even R&B. I know there's old R&B, there's new R&B, and I know the differences between them. For my limited information coming into something or a conversation like this, like I know Metallica, I know Nirvana, I know AC/DC, the list goes on. I don't even know if these all fall under the same tree, but like, is there a group or a handful of groups that actually exist in 2023? Because I feel like, I know I'm not in the circles, but past 2010, what is the state of the genre? Like, I don't know anyone that's actually doing heavy metal like this. It's such a 80s, 90s thing.
Rock is struggling.
So that is true.
Okay.
But there's also
struggling really hard.
There's also the fact that metal as a genre has diversified so intensely since this point.
Yeah.
This album is kind of like a crystallization of what became the American thrash metal sound. So
okay.
So this album did like massive numbers in the US, but actually wasn't that successful nationally or internationally rather. And you see that over time, you start to get like breakout groups into different subgenres. So you see the rise of new metal, metal, like metalcore, and like all these other little subgenres that
like grunge also like really took a lot of the shine from.
Yeah,
you know,
you see metal becomes a sound. Yeah, metal becomes a sound that becomes less. It feels less contemporary into the 90s and the 2000s. Yeah. So that's why you see like people who consider themselves to be metal artists or metal enthusiasts break off and join more subgenres that evolve the sound. So yeah, nothing coming out today sounds like this, frankly.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think like
it's like how nobody sounds like Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
is like the way of putting it.
Yeah. And I do understand like how coming in the metal is like there's lines, sub-counter lines. Yeah. Like I definitely understand feeling like how that could be a thing. I think possibly the only other genre that's like harder maybe.
Right.
Right.
I would say EDM has a lot of that too.
EDM too. Yeah,
a lot of overlap.
EDM too. But when you get into the scene, like you can, it's not.
You can tell the difference.
You can totally tell the difference. Yeah, like, and another thing that's important to remember, another piece of context was, as popular as this was right now, at this time there were two different like competing strains of heavy. In the 80s, heavy metal was pop music, the most popular music. A type of heavy metal called hair metal, right?
Okay.
Bands like Van Halen, Rat,
Poison.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the big hair, the party boy kind of aesthetic.
It almost is like a glam rock aesthetic to an extent.
It was like the evolution of glam
rock. It was Guitar Hero.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Okay. Okay. No, I mean, that honestly, it was Guitar Hero. Like, that's what I think of.
And like, but then, this was the flagship for the counter running to. So the same way that like Kendrick Lamar runs counter to like, I don't know,
Drake.
I was thinking someone more like Young Boy Never Broke Again. Like,
oh sure, yeah, that's totally valid.
Well, no,
that
like,
much different.
Yeah, like really.
Well, it becomes like the very like pop commercial and like more performative versus like the substance and like the really dense like cult fan
and like
base.
It still does numbers, but it's rooted in like the core fan base.
Yeah,
right?
and
interesting.
Before that, you even see like Black Sabbath being like I think the originator of a lot of that
common
as well.
name.
Black Sabbath, Judas Priest was another super important band.
I think Judas Priest walks the line though for like hair metal aesthetically in a lot of ways.
No, I completely disagree.
No. I don't mean. I'm sorry. I don't mean aesthetically. I mean like what's the word? Shoot. Like almost sonically. Like the lyrical style is so different.
I don't know,
from
man, because like
Metallica.
One of my passion projects in college was writing a screenplay about Rob Halford. The singer. Because Purvis, when you think of when I ask you to think of like an outfit associated with like 1980, what do you think?
An outfit, a whole bunch of leather and spikes, but that's coming from something I don't know.
No. You literally you could not have given me a better answer. Because that entire aesthetic was created by Judas. And it was created by Judas Priest. Rob Halford was a gay man in the just decided to wear that stuff as a decided to turn it into heavy metal so it couldn't be gay.
Yeah.
And
let me just go ahead. Sorry.
And also sonically they were very they were the band that's considered, because Black Sabbath is considered the first heavy metal band, but they have a lot of blues.
Yes.
Judas Priest is
like blues.
Yeah. I think you would like Black Sabbath. It's also very stoner kind of. But Judas Priest is like the band that's like cuts out the blues. Right? So they have that aesthetic thing, and then they have the sonic. So I think they're one of the most important bands.
I agree, but I think that the benefit of hindsight changes at least in my opinion, what the definition of, or like what genre Judas Priest would really be considered, because I don't think you can lump them in with Metallica. I think Metallica is a lot heavier in terms of like, in terms of the metal sound, of Judas Priest. Like I think of the song "Living After Midnight" and how very not metal that song is in terms of like the sound it carries. To me, it's almost like if metal were influenced by like new wave, like the Cars.
Yeah,
that's like the sound that I get.
I think that would be a perfectly fine take to have from that song. But I think specifically, if you go into like Painkiller, Breaking the Law and stuff like that, you get that grittier heavy metal sound. I agree. They aren't because they're the progenitor of like that sounds. You know, it doesn't sound revised. I do think Metallica is like of that sounds. Or that sound and that aesthetic, and then everything after that is like a mix of it. And also heavy metal at the time was a lot less defined. Like I remember it was like I think like the last week or before we had Jasper on like full time, I recommended a song called Godzilla. It was a very silly song about I love Blue Oyster Cult because they're a very thinky, heady band, right? And they were considered heavy metal at the time. Like that's how they were marketed. That's what they were called. Like they were heavy metal festivals. But like I played it for Purvis, and he was like, "No, I just not sound like heavy." So I think we got to understand that like it was always a more genre than something like.
That is true. I think another thing that we're describing without realizing it is the national cultural differences
for sure.
in what defines metal, because Judas Priest is British, Metallica is American. I think that right there alone is enough of a genre gap in just like what constitutes the sound of British metal evolving around the same time as the punk development, whereas American metal's coming out of a vacuum, kind of almost like the way has been cleared after the like really over the top 70s classic rock scene.
Yeah, I definitely think that's valid, 100%. I do like Metallica themselves definitely came out of the punk scene a bit. Like that's where they got their and everything, and that's definitely true. I definitely think we should keep that in mind. I think the difference in time, Metallica, I think is pretty far.
It's not that far. It's like maybe 5 to 7 years, depending on like when they were at their real heights, I guess. I mean, you see releases for Judas Priest from 1980 through 87, or 80 through 90, which is
because like British Steel through Screaming for Vengeance, so like the early 80s. Yeah, you're right. So it's not super long. You're right.
They're technically contemporaries, but just there's like a little bit of a latency.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a latency, and I definitely think enough for that influence to be a real thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. They're definitely more contemporaries than I'm mistaken.
I would consider the true precursor or predecessor to be Black Sabbath, because Black Sabbath was very active in the 70s.
No, Black Sabbath is just very accurate. Like, that is just a stake.
Yeah.
I just I just know from like reading countless that what a calcify.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, no, dude,
Well,
I think Purvis, what other songs did you fuck with?
let me pull it back up. Give me a second.
Because I'm a huge fan of The Thing That Should Not.
I think we should say what our favorite is and our least favorite.
That's fun.
I mean, I'll go first just because
that's fine.
Don't have a lot of weight. I listened to it once. Master of Puppets is what stood out the most, obviously, as it is the title of the album.
You can't get mad at that.
I honestly don't have a least favorite. Like I don't know if I have enough of a developed taste to like know what's bad in this genre.
Well, the thing is, no track on this is bad. It's like if you had
that's also true.
I definitely have a solid least favorite.
Same.
But
okay.
I don't think there's any track that's bad. Did you like Orion, the real trippy song?
I did.
Yeah.
Honestly, that.
So, do you know the lore behind this album about Cliff Burton?
I don't know anything about this album. What I could say in terms of like what I could take away from the quality, I think it's top tier quality. Yeah. Now, it's certain beats that I just am not familiar with. Like there are certain things where like the snare would I think is offbeat. Yeah. But obviously like it's a type of music I'm just not familiar with.
Yeah. So real quick, my favorite song is probably The Thing That Should Not Be right now. Master of Puppets is a classic. One of my favorites. But it's like, and my least favorite, once again, it's still a very good song, but I would say probably Damn. I think Orion is potential closer.
Valid.
Yeah. Jasper, give your favorite and least favorite, and then I'll tell Purvis.
For me, I'll say, I mean, obviously, Master Puppets is undeniable, and it is, the quintessential off this album. With that said, my personal favorite is Welcome Home.
Yeah, Sanitarium. Welcome Home's very good.
I can play it on guitar. Yeah. And then my least favorite is probably Leopard Messiah.
Oh yeah, that's another Leopard Messiah, Disposable Heroes, and Damage Inc. I feel like they're a.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally agree. I used to be able to play the hard riff.
I know the one. Yeah.
So the creepy lore, Purvis, is that so there's 4 members of Metallica, right? And their bassist was a man named, and he was like a classically trained stellar music, right? Like top tier. And he basically joined this punk metal band. I personally am of the belief that that's how they became. Cliff Burton was like, hey.
Yeah.
So they just finished the album and they're finishing tour for Ride the Light. Right? They're on a bus driving through. There's an ice store. Have to draw card for. And the guitarist and Cliff Burton draw cards. Guitarist gets. So he wins.
Okay.
Plus,
okay.
Cliff Burton. So this was last album. And it haunted over the album. I think like it's kind of like a fact. But yeah, it's a pretty heavy piece of contact for the
that's sad.
Entire, and it is sad because he's like one of the great lost is truly do not know what the entire landscape is. I think there would be a good
chance. There's 4 people in the group?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Right now,
he was the 4th?
Yes, he was.
Oh, wait, he was the 5th.
No, he was the fourth.
He was the fourth. So there's three now.
Yes, and then there was three, and then they got a new bassist, Jason Newsted. He was with them for 2 albums. And then for the last 2 decades, they've been with a different Robert.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, no, it's a sad context, but it's part of the
that, and also a lot of the lyrics have a lot to do with just like the feeling of paranoia in general.
Paranoia.
So,
that's
yeah. The thing that should not be is that you're being controlled. You're the puppet.
Yeah.
So
it's Cthulhu.
Yeah. So the idea of it being like a global or universal paranoia is something that's made this also like a hallmark of the genre in that way, where it's like this has big, fight the man, but you are powerless to fight the man energy, which is like something that has really been, if you had to boil metal down into like a thing towards like the end of its success run into the 2000s, I think that's the concept. And this album is like what pioneered that in a way.
I think that's a really,
that brought up 2 points then. The first thing I will say is a little bit shorter. The power behind that reminds me of Mac Miller, because his last album was literally about drug addiction.
Yeah.
So that definitely instantly comes up in my mind. The second part of it is kind of what I was alluding towards with the initial question I had. Considering the current state of metal or heavy metal, and it seems like it is, I don't want to say on a downfall, but it's hurting. Is it due to it being about fighting the man? Is it just not something that people apply to their lives now? Is it not relatable as much? What is making the genre not be successful?
I just don't think it is sonically anymore. And also, I think like all the artsy kids
indie pop, yeah.
So,
Purvis. Oh, sorry. I just want to say one thing here. The thing is, like, the fan base and like the appeal of metal hasn't gone away. It's just that what is popular music has shifted, I think.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
And that's the thing, is one day hip hop, rap, trap, all of this is going to recede to that point, and whatever the next genre is going to take that space and run with it in the pop sphere. But there's always going to be a core community that comes back to it. So a good example of a band that's been doing, I think, incredibly purist work in a sense in terms of metal as a greater genre, not breaking it down by subgenre, is Daughters. What Daughters is doing, the album You Won't Get What You Want, came out in 2018 and is like, you got to listen to it. Like, it's hard to describe. It's really, really excellent. And it's kind of, again, a return to form in a way for a genre which is past the peak of its popularity and, might have a peak again at some point in the future. But for the time being is at a low point in terms of its mass reception.
That's so smart. I'm like, great call on Daughters. And like,
they don't have a lot of monthly listeners.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. It's like it's a hidden gem, and when the genre bottoms out in terms of popularity, you get these core communities that cling to something. But is there something that to cling to?
I also think it's worth pointing out that like the rock bands that do emerge and are popular are like popular because of
Yes.
I think about Led Zeppelin.
Oh, the one who Fantano's always ragging on. I forget their name.
Greta Van Fleet.
Yes, Greta Van Fleet. That's it.
Greta Van Fleet. I also think the Italian one, Manskin, just like
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I think they're just a poor like rock. So I think that's another issue. Rock fan. Well, I'm hesitant to ever put the onus on fans, but I think like
and there's also the case to be made that rock as a genre is just limited by the tools of its creation, right? You can only make so many sounds with the guitar. I mean, tell that to Jack White, but what Jack White does at some points isn't even necessarily considered rock. So You start escaping what is a traditional view of a music genre based on the instrumentation of it, and you start breaking off into what eventually becomes a separate standalone genre.
Yeah.
And hip hop, I think, is wider in the sense that a lot of it, because it is derived from synthetic sound or organic sound that has been modulated and changed to become synthetic, has a longer or a wider berth when it comes to what people would sonically accept to be hip hop and rap.
Yeah.
And like other things within that genre. The fact that Run DMC and Trippie Redd reside within the same genre is, I think, a testament to that.
Yeah,
in a way.
That's totally
and rock just doesn't have that. It's more narrow in the way that the instruments really define what the genre is and isn't, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's I think there's one other detail. I think you said. I think the other thing is that there is at least one genre of rock that has always been relevant, probably always will be. So I think a lot of people have any genres just that's pop punk.
Yeah, totally.
Like bands like Games We Play and Fall Out Boy. I'm trying to think of.
I mean, Panic at the you have to put Panic in there.
Yeah. Well, I just meant like Panic is kind of like
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P. But Panic is great. But like that lane of rock music, that will always have an audience because it will always be
Green Day.
Yeah, Green Day.
Those are consumable.
Yeah, I think Turnstile is the big that right now. They put out a classic. So I think that's the other thing is that there is like this one specific lane of rock music, and I think like that just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You go where the people are.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a shame. I wish there was a more vibrant rock scene.
One day we'll get it back.
I think it'll come back.
We'll get it back. It's just going to take some other kind of fusion with another genre to draw people in, I think, and then people can get back to purist
for a
kind of
while.
stuff.
I really thought it was going to be Gary Clark Jr. able to and he makes great albums off like that.
There are a lot of artists who fall into that vein.
Yeah.
I mean, artists who have like huge kind of critical mass moments in terms of popularity of like a song or an album, but then don't really amount to it. I mean, the early 2000s, the early 2000s had so many. I mean, Jet, you have Weezer, you have MGMT.
Weezer's still around, but
yeah, but in terms of critical mass, like the Blue Album,
come on. That was
it's just like that was a moment.
Ooh, all right, do we want to move on to the one Purvis can talk about? Like,
unless Purvis has any other thoughts or closing comments on Master Puppets here.
Which is the next metal band we're gonna make, Purvis?
Megadeth, the derivative.
Oh boy, that sounds exciting.
I was thinking we could cut him
Megadeth.
We could do Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I mean, that's an option. I would really love to hear his take on either Endgame, which is newer, or by Megadeth.
Oh, okay.
Or like one of the classics, like Rust in Peace.
Yeah, Rust in Peace. I am dying to show Purvis Toxicity.
True.
That is.
I could do that. Something with less energy. Just give me something with less energy.
That's not what this is.
You came to the wrong genre, motherfucker.
It only gets worse.
Please. I'm begging.
Put on the
Motorhead.
Put on the biscuit.
Slipknot, please.
It's just funny because, like, even listening to some of these albums, even if I was like alive back then and I was in my prime 20s listening to music, I probably still wouldn't be listening to this music.
Yeah,
even if it was
valid.
like the popular music.
Yeah.
Well, it was a strain of popular music. There were a lot of popular sounds back then, arguably more than there are now. So, it's the internet in a lot of ways has really codified what is popular in terms of musical sound. It's given people the lane to just flood the market with their particular sound and drive everything else to the border.
All right.
You're gonna have good taste to discover new stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
But anywho.
How are you feeling? This was a big week for you.
This was a big week for me. Don Toliver dropped Lovesick, and a few days later dropped the deluxe version. Which I'll get into my opinions on that. But I figured we'll just start off with initial thoughts and first impressions. Coming into it, I'm hyped. Don Toliver is definitely one of my Angel Boys. I put him up there on a very high pedestal. With respect to the legends, of course. But everything that I've heard, I've been super impressed. I love the sound of the album. It feels very strong and solidified within itself. It doesn't do too much. It doesn't go outside his boundaries, but he's able to branch upon his skills. I feel like this is a growth album, but I think we can get more out of him. We can definitely get more out of him. But what I heard was it was very impressive. There are maybe one or two songs I genuinely don't like. I will be upfront about that. Yeah, but I think the rest of it is really good.
Yeah, no, I thought it had kind of a rocky start. But once it hits its groove, I think I would step right. Like, is it quite to the level that I think he's capable of? But wrong step in the right direction. I told you.
Absolutely.
Like, Heaven or Hell is really good, but I think at least has a much more.
So, yeah.
I'm into it.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed this album. Yeah, there's a few songs on here I don't like, but if I may break this fourth wall a little, I think there's thoughts to
be. Jasper, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, hearing both of you give those opinions, I think I'm going to be the most critical of the three of us. Okay. I've listened to it twice so far, fully all the way through. Once the base version, once the deluxe version. And initial thoughts, I think that, I expected a little bit more, to be honest. You both have touched on how sonically it's doing something interesting, and I agree with that. But I feel almost a little let down by the lack of, I guess, I don't want to say making it into a concept album, but using his really incredible voice to do more than effectively be an instrument and actually, whether it's tell stories or, better inform or, entertain the listener. So for me, I think it lacks messaging in a lot of ways. And like you said, there are a couple songs on here that I really do detest. There are some that I really like, but some of them just don't hit for me. And I think the order of the album's a little weird too. There are some songs at the beginning I would think would be better suited to the end, just like the structuring of it, but we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, I think the beginning of this album.
Yeah.
They are made work.
Yeah. So overall,
the deluxe was placed in the wrong place. Yeah.
Musically, it's more of what I would expect from the growth trajectory of Don Toliver. I think he's got a lot of interesting sounds here. I just wish he could do interesting things vocally, not even technically, but just in a writing way that would complement and contribute to that. Because I think that would make this a much stronger album.
Yeah,
I think that's that's a good take in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't hate that take.
I did go looking around online after I listened to it, and I was like, does anyone else feel the same way about this album? And I came across the Rolling Stone review for it. The headline describes exactly how I feel about it. Don Toliver's Lovesick is seductive and forgettable. Which, lyrically speaking, I think is fair. I think it's a forgettable album. It's musically very interesting, but it's just the lyrics leave something to be desired for me.
Yeah, I agree that lyrically it's just not, it doesn't have a lot of substance. I guess I was okay with that because of, I felt like a refinement.
I agree. I think if he had so little to say, I'm surprised it's as long as it is.
And that's totally fair, right? That's totally fair. And the other thing is that, and maybe I'm biased, and ironically, I think about to touch. But I actually like that this is more classic concept album in that it's more of just it's kind of more like a Ride the Lightning and Puppets.
So I'll agree with that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So
yeah.
I enjoy overall like conceptual and sonic direction. I think when it comes to like beat Teller, there was a few tracks Don Toliver, not a lot, but it's like, oh, he definitely has this.
Right, and that's why the order of the album throws me off.
Yeah, and that just is not executed. So that obviously, but I do think the growth overall, I just gotta chalk this up as a win for him.
Yeah, overall, yeah.
Yeah, and like I came out last project
of the Life of Don.
Yeah, Life of a Don.
Mm-hmm.
I was I thought that was
it's a very
boring out.
It doesn't grab me either personally.
I will say definitely off of the explanation that you're giving, Jasper, I could see how I think Don Toliver has the capabilities of releasing a concept level album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only thing is that like
not there yet.
And this I don't know if he's not there yet necessarily. Well, I guess you can say that because he didn't do it. But I think the way I come into listening into someone like Don Toliver, I don't really do it for a concept album.
It's the vibe.
Right.
And I understand
this is
that.
one of the few people that like it legitimately is, and I hate to compare Don Toliver to Travis Scott, but as someone who naturally falls under him, it just makes sense. You're not gonna get an actual concept album from Travis. You'll get a roller coaster theme park album, but you're not gonna really get like a really in-depth concept album where this park that I grew up with as a child means so much to me, and it helped my development, and it stands for so much for the community in this type of way. Like, you're not gonna get that. You're gonna get
yeah. I mean, to me, it depends on what our definition of a concept album is, right? Because to me, the strongest concept album Travis has ever released is Rodeo. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't have to be super direct. Not everything has to be Igor, right? Where it explicitly tells a story with every track. Yeah. But Rodeo has the progression of, there's a young man who's uncertain about his future. He's making mistakes. He doesn't know where to turn. And then by the end of the experience, he goes through it and he doesn't want your apple pie mama. He wants to figure out his own way and do things his way. And he's gonna succeed, but he's gonna, the world is his for the taking. And that's kind of like the progression of that album. And this album, in a lot of ways, it has the makings of being kind of a more abstract concept album. It's just that the songs, the ordering doesn't make sense to me. I want to talk about Leave the Club and Let Her Go, right?
Okay.
Leave the Club is a song that should be at the end of this album or toward the end of this album. He's talking about he wants to leave the club, yada, yada, yada. I could totally see this track as being like the majority of the album before this is like infatuation and, falling for somebody, whatever else. And then he's hurt in some way and he wants to leave the club and go home and stop the party, that kind of thing. And then Let Her Go is something in the same vein where it's like, oh, it may not work out and it's time to, let go, say goodbye, that kind of thing. I think there are things that could have been done to make this album stronger in that like abstract sense in the way that Rodeo really excels. And I just don't think it does that at all. So for me, I think that's just a missed opportunity. You don't have to change up the actual content of the songs, but just
like maybe the order.
Yeah, the way that they complement each other and the story that they have to tell as they relate to one another is missing, I think.
It's an interesting perspective bringing that up because honestly, I don't know the process that an artist goes through when you're selecting the order of your songs. You're selecting the songs you even select, because we've talked about this before. When an artist makes an album, they might have 40 songs.
Yeah,
and then you're picking a core 5 and you kind of go from there. So that's interesting. It's a good perspective bringing up how the ordering could be different. It's just, I feel like within, like you guys mentioned with heavy metal, within the genre, there's just certain things that you have certain limitations. If you don't have a guitar in the album. It's not a heavy metal album. Like it's just very clear cut almost. And I feel like in terms of that can relate to hip hop, where like the quote unquote definition of a concept album, I understand it could be fairly broad. It can mean a lot of different things in terms of concept album, but I feel like within hip hop, if you hear concept album, it's a real story. Like you can tell what's a concept album and what's like a theme album. And I think the difference between the two is much more sharp than other genres. And that could be just a bias type of thing or a limited type of thing because I don't know other genres as much. But I feel like I wouldn't approach this album as a concept one anyway. And so if it is a theme, because there's so many different ways to approach quote unquote love sickness and the version that he creates within the album, the order doesn't matter as much. Now I'll say this. I don't like Leave the Club. Like I personally don't even like the song. I mean, so if it wasn't on the album at all, if it wasn't on the album at all, then I'll be okay with that.
Like I think the fact that it's so close to the beginning is like if you're gonna have it, structure it in a way that's cohesive. That's my thing.
I don't
know. True.
I don't know if that is a real expectation. It's like
that's fair.
I just don't feel like it's trying to tell a story at all. You know, I feel like given Don Toliver's laid back sound, I think the idea of a loose album rather than that's him up for 6.
Yeah, I think that the theme itself could be made just slightly tighter through some very minor tweaks in terms of the ordering. And that's all I'm saying is like I'm not expecting it to be. I
think there are some ordering issues here. Just like
I agree. Like, You're making a great point.
I definitely think like there are just, like 1 through 5, like there's just some serious sequence. 100%. Like I thought nothing Lovesick.
Yeah. And openers matter a lot.
Let Her Go. It sounds like cool, but
the James Blake, I like the idea. I don't know if it was executed
exactly
the best way.
Like I wanted to like it. It's not that.
What's that James Blake song that Travis is featured on off of James Blake?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's got him doing the chorus where he's like, nah, and he comes in like low. I don't remember what it is, but that song that's like what I would consider to be it for me personally in terms of his sound.
Yeah. Right, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I like the idea of James Blake coming in. The Mile High song, phenomenal.
High. That's the one.
Yeah. I love that song. And so I think the idea of adding James Blake to a Cactus Jack sound, just in general,
it's a good idea.
It was it's meant to set up for success, but it just wasn't executed that way. Yeah. And then personally, I think Leave the Club came out as a single before the album. It almost it really discouraged me coming into the album.
Like
I would say that.
It's not. I think the beat switch is kind of cool.
It was one of the few beat switches I was like, okay. And on top of that, if I'm being completely fair, I don't listen to Lil Durk and I don't like Glorilla. And that's not meant to be like in a negative sense. If you like her, perfectly fine. It's just not music that's meant for me.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Like Glorilla, not for me.
There's no situation where I'm going to sit down and listen to Glorilla. It's just
and Don Toliver's hook is sounds like a squeaky, and it's not.
Yeah,
so I like. Part of me kind of likes the vibe of it. Part of me wants to like Glorilla because I don't think she's like bad by any stretch. It's just
she's not.
The combination of like it's not for me and her voice, it's like it's a lot, So
yeah,
and then for me is one I have some thoughts about.
You didn't like For Me?
I don't dislike.
Wait, before we move on, Jasper, you're gonna say something.
Yeah, say something because I have a pretty long tirade about For Me.
I just wanted to circle back to something that you brought up that I think is really important here, and part of the reason I think I really didn't like this album. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Cactus Jack sound. Now, the Cactus Jack sound to me, and I can immediately conjure, what it sounds like, texturally, what it is, who sounds good on it, and who doesn't, right? The Cactus Jack sound is something that, for me, I think seriously holds this album back because I think it creates expectations. It feels to me like, honestly, almost every single song on this album, except for the ones that deviated from it, I was like expecting to hear a Travis feature on the next verse.
Yeah.
And it just sets up the feeling of something, right? And I think that from the perspective of a producer, you stick to the formula in a lot of ways for an album like this, where it's like there's a sound, you write lyrics that don't matter as much as the way the vocal track, lays over this sound, because that's what people go for.
It's a vibe, like you said.
It's exactly. And I think that if this album didn't adhere to that so strictly, I think it would have been a lot easier for Don to make an album that in a lot of ways did contribute more lyrically and in terms of concept than this one does.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine like this same album, the same creative energy, like if it was on like
it would be like completely different. It would be just
I'm curious then.
Yeah,
because that's a great point. Could you imagine Don Toliver outside of the Cactus Jack formula?
I feel like of all of them, yeah. And granted, I can only think of like 4.
I mean, yes, of course, out of all of them, Don Toliver is the most successful. It's Travis Scott and Don Toliver.
I could see Don Toliver being on stuff that The Weeknd is on. Like we talked about this already. I see him being, in terms of vocal styling, I could see him rising to that at some point in terms of like his ability. Now, musically, I think it's hard to break out of a box. I think that Jack Boys and his appearance on Can't Say, and even his first project, have all kind of put him in that realm.
It is his sound. Yeah, it's his sound now.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that's tough because, I mean, you either you continue to do this thing or you reinvent yourself in a way that is a risk. But I could totally see him branching out and just doing much more like pop-centric stuff that doesn't tie itself to the kind of more trap sound.
I think what he heavily relies on, and not even in a negative way, his voice is very unique. His singing abilities is far beyond the average rapper or hip hop artist. So it's interesting because it's hard to picture Don Toliver outside of the scope of Cactus Jack, because it essentially that's who he is. Now, I agree. I can see him XO Weeknd. It's just very limited evidence because we have Moon that was on Donda, but he was a chorus. And
I feel like that's his song. Like
what about Broken Road?
I mean, I like his song, but again, I agree, but it's not. He doesn't really have a verse in it, really. Do you go and listen to his verse? It's just a chorus. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Don Toliver. I know, and I love it. But in reality, he's a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
It's more than just the chorus. So it's hard to picture a verse from Don Toliver that's outside of the range of a Cactus Jack heavily influenced album, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, you're going to say For Me, because I like For Me. I actually do like For Me a lot.
Okay. Because, like, here's the thing. There's a split in my... Here's the thing. I feel like this is another song that's just for, like, 19-year-olds and they're... Like, let's be fucking real, right? Like, let's be
It's true. It's true.
It's true.
But
because the Cactus Jack audience skews a lot younger.
Yeah, right?
It is younger.
But, and, like, this is something... I had mentioned this to Purvis this week, like, and I think I'm going to break the fourth wall a little bit. Like, something I think that could help us as we become, like, and that maybe brushing up on critical theory. And, like, one of the base principles of critical theory is, like, put your own feelings about it. And, like, can you identify what the artist is trying to do? How well did they? Right? And to me, I think this is very clear. Like, no, this is the song they wanted to make. Right? They wanted to make, like, this song for 20. And, like,
It literally dropped on Valentine's Day with his girlfriend, right?
So, like, to a degree, I feel like my own personal feelings are irrelevant because, like, my through the critical lens, I think it's an effective song, you know. So I just feel like I want to take a moment to just separate. Because, like, I gotta be honest, this is gonna be a skip every time for me. Like, the world has broken my heart too many. But, like,
which I understand.
I got a lot of songs on this.
Yeah, like,
it's very relatable. I understand that. I think so.
And the other thing, it doesn't help the fact that I think the album gets much better the second this.
Okay.
Valid.
I mean that's totally justified. It was interesting enough with the way you said that, because when I think of how if music's actually relatable,
yeah,
is this almost too positive? And I don't want to say that in a negative sense, but like in reality, can music sound too unrealistic? Because like you said, something that might be more relatable to you and to a lot of people, I think. People go through heartbreak. They go through hardship. Yeah. It's a lot easier to connect to negative emotions and reactions to positive ones. It's just kind of how we're hardwired.
I don't know.
I don't think that's happening here.
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay.
I think for me, this album suffers from, if you say something too often, it becomes less meaningful.
That's fair.
Where, like, say the word please a ton of times and it starts to lose its meaning. Say I love you a ton of times, it starts to lose its meaning. I think this album does that in spades. Like, there's so many tracks that just reiterate the same thing in different ways over different, arrangements that don't contribute anything to it. And there are two songs that I really dislike on this album. One of them is I think the most popular in terms of plays. I really can't stand Honeymoon and Do It Right.
Oh, I love
Honeymoon and Do It Right.
Oh my god,
I love Do It Right.
The chorus is so annoying. The background.
Oh my god, the interpolation hits. I don't know. You fucking crazy.
No,
I like Do It Right.
It just annoys me.
I love that.
It's song. Interesting.
That was like when I was like, okay, I need to pick one song to show my girl.
It was gonna be Do It Right.
I picked Do It Right. Like, I was like, oh, this is cool. But like, I get it. Like,
It's not big enough of a sample.
Yeah.
It's like just.
I don't know. I feel like because it's like that gray worm, because like it's like that gray area for like, because it's like when it was happening, I was like, I know what this is, but I don't know what it, and like.
Yeah, maybe it was like the mixing on my earbuds or something, but just it was like too present. It's like too forward in the mix for me.
That's fine.
I didn't mind
Honeymoon. I'm much more empathetic to that. I like Honeymoon, but it's.
I can understand if you don't like it.
Yeah, it's one of the weaker songs on the side of the album.
Yeah, I don't mind Let Her Go, to be honest. Like, I think James Blake does a serviceable job. And then later on, I actually really like Future's feature on Private Landing. Like, that song is okay, but I like his feature a lot.
That song has a good order. Like, that's something I was going to point out. Private Landing has a good order. I surprisingly thought Future would go last. Him coming before Justin Bieber actually made the song work very well. Yeah. In my opinion.
And I don't mind Leather Coat. I like that one too.
I like Leather Coat a lot.
Leather Coat is good.
Yeah. I really like Slow Motion.
With Wizkid.
Yeah. But I gotta say, like, as positive as I've been on this album, like, by far my biggest disappointment.
Bus Stop?
The Bread Fires. Yeah. I know you said the feature he didn't, because I agree. When you brought it up to me, I was like, it's no Wasteland. He didn't put in that level of quality.
Look, it's not the worst song in the world.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's not the worst song in the world, but like
it's not the worst song on the album.
No, not the worst song on the album.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like Don Toliver doing a Chance the Rapper impression.
It kind of does. It kind of does.
Interesting.
Right? And like
it totally does.
With the sample?
It sounds like Sunday Candy, motherfucker.
It does a little bit. It sounds like.
Wait. We like Sunday Candy. Let's not hate Sunday Candy. We like Sunday Candy.
It's all right. So there are certain parts of that song that I think are too fast for their own good, and this has that problem in terms of like the speed with which it comes at you.
But
I agree.
So I just didn't think it came. I just thought. That was the thing. I thought like it was just a very sloppily.
Yeah.
Okay.
And before that was one of the highlights of the album.
Yeah? You going to say Company or what?
Oh, Company Part 3. I thought was one of the highlights. Yeah.
So, Jasper, I don't know if you listen to Heaven or Hell. Company is my favorite song. Like, Part 1. Company is my favorite song by Don Toliver. Bro, the fact that, like, the Company was the one song that he has continued through his albums.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the song that I like. It's the least streamed one, and that's the one that I pointed out. Absolutely love this. Yeah. I have an ear for Don Toliver.
Yeah.
You know, it's another artist that has like a very similar trilogy of songs.
Is it Kid Cudi with Solo Dolo?
Yeah. Oh, yes, but I was not thinking about them. They were someone we talked about extensively on this episode.
On this episode of the podcast. Well,
it's Metallica, the Unforgiven trilogy.
True.
Oh,
and
yeah, I guess.
Very similar to the because like they complete like it sounds like the same. It has like the same vibe. I don't think they repeat, but it's a completely different. When I was listening to this the first time, I wasn't looking at the song title.
I wasn't either.
Yeah, and I didn't even think this was Company. I was like, Jesus, this is beautiful layered sound. I think if I had with Charlie Wilson, some of the highlights.
I love the Company trilogy.
I gotta say, Company is not my favorite song off Heaven or Hell. That's got to go to either Cardigan, After Party, or Euphoria. I love Euphoria.
All great songs. All great songs.
Euphoria hits IMO.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I want to go over. So I've said this many times before on the podcast. I hate the idea of artists working on music right after dropping a project. I feel like it takes away some of the meaning. Understanding the deluxe might be album or songs that might have been throwaways or songs that may not have cleared samples. So with that being said, I will give this a pass from my one like hatred rule because the deluxe came like 2-3 days afterwards. So clearly I feel like these songs are meant to be added. What do you think about the placement? I don't like it at the beginning. Absolutely. I think it should go at the end.
I think it makes the worst part. Once again, I think the album's worst part is its beginning and it.
This reminds me of when Uzi dropped Eternal Atake Deluxe and just front loaded everything on the front, and they do it for streaming numbers, but like
it's essentially a whole second album. The deluxe,
yeah, it's
for Uzi at least.
It's obnoxious because the start of Eternal Atake is so good on the bass version, just like the Welcome to Eternal Atake. I turn to add, and it goes on, and just like. Oh my God, doing it here. Like, I like the Travis feature on Embarrassed, and I think No Pole is a fun song, but I don't think they have a place here. I think they're in the wrong spot, of course.
Yeah, no,
they're just extra songs. They should be thrown at the end.
Yeah.
Now,
I liked Embarrassed all the way through.
Okay.
And I liked,
that's obviously something we had to talk about.
And I liked Lucky I'm Having.
I think both of the songs that you just mentioned, Embarrassed and Lucky I'm Having, are phenomenal with the features as well. No Pole, Geronimo, could have gone without it completely.
Fair. I mean, I enjoy the sound of No Pole solo. Yeah, I didn't like Geronimo. I don't even remember it, to be honest. Yeah.
So I'm curious because this is essentially a second wave, and it might be a marketing thing. I don't know, but obviously, as you mentioned earlier, you listen to an album like this, you listen to a very influenced Cactus Jack album. You're waiting for Travis Scott to come in. We finally got the Travis Scott feature. What do you think about Embarrassed? I personally, I love Embarrassed. I think it is debatably one of the better songs on the album, believe it or not.
I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. Like I thought it was fun.
It's okay. It doesn't have my favorite styling of Travis's vocals. I like it when he's a little lower in terms of pitching. Which is part of why I like White Girl so much, Brandon's least favorite. But I think that him at the lower register definitely is more of a vibe for me personally, unless it's his early stuff where he's the centerpiece. But I don't know, man. I mean, just the way this has been released, I think there are just a lot of problems, including the front load. It's an hour and 4 minutes for the deluxe, and it came out what 3 days after the
right, pretty much right away.
And this has been a trend lately. It's just obnoxious.
Horribly done deluxe roll.
That is an excellent conversation, Jasper, because this has taken over the hip-hop industry.
It's a problem.
Every album has a deluxe version. Yeah. Every album.
It's the opposite.
Unless
it's
like a full concept album.
It's the opposite of the EDM problem. The EDM problem is that nobody makes a goddamn album. Everything is a single, and then it comes out as like a little LP with like 4 remixes attached that nobody cares about. And it's like,
true.
That's why I like Gesaffelstein and Daft Punk and people like that, because they can make albums. And that's why I've been listening to Mr. Kitty so goddamn much, because I messed with that fucking album that got recommended.
Yeah, Time's a great album.
Oh my god, Rats is on permanent rotation.
Dude, I love Rats.
It's so good.
My dream is one day to direct an action set piece.
It's so good, dude. Yeah, it's one of those things. Hip hop is going the other direction, where it's like, let's make this massive project, and just like rack up the streams and listens, and like it's contribute nothing.
It's very album focused, but not necessarily in a good. Because I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yep.
Like most of it is like the Drake. Much shit this album.
Yeah.
25 song album.
But you know who we really have to blame for this? And it wasn't even a streaming thing when this became a thing. No.
Are you gonna say Chris Brown?
No, I'm gonna say Kanye and Jay-Z. Watch the Throne Deluxe.
Yeah. But then again, like I do think there are deluxes that are worth it. Like I remember when After Hours came out, I got 2 different deluxes. I didn't even like one of them. I was fine.
I don't even think Good Kid, Mad City Deluxe is worth it at all.
Oh, that's silly.
No, it's Recipe? Not. I don't care. I don't like having remixes on the main album. It has a remix on the main album.
No, that's stellar. I
don't mess with that, man.
I love a remix. Give me a Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe remix. I want to hear that song 6 more times.
Look.
I'll put it on a separate. I'll put it on a separate album. But my OCD cannot handle having the same song twice in 2 different flavors on the same project.
That is true. That is very true.
That annoys me.
Jasper, normally I would disagree because of Kendrick, but that is true. I would hate to hear the same song on the album.
I want the Big Crit Don't Kill My Vibe.
And then
the Griselda Don't Kill My Vibe.
But then my dumbass goes and like, oh, did the album restart? And I had like look at my phone and I get all like thrown off. Like I'm driving and I'm like, wait, did I listen to this all the way through already? And it's like, oh no, it's just that one weird like remix that they happen to just shoehorn on the end for whatever reason.
Bro, there are so many deluxes that do that, and it is so annoying. I hate it so much.
I really don't like it.
I mean, to be fair, I'll say this. For Brandon's sake, Kendrick Lamar, we won't count this conversation because his deluxes is either that or like Damn in Reverse.
I hate
so like
I thought the Damn in Reverse.
So like, come on.
Like,
can we talk about?
My thing is that like I thought the deluxe for Good Kid, Mad City just had the 2 songs. It was the Recipe. Which
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was more.
It is now more. It is 4 songs. It is 5 songs. 4 or
5, yeah.
And 2 of them are remixes.
I don't like that.
Good Kid, Mad City.
No. No.
Anyway, can we talk about one of the worst offenders in this space? I think that also kind of kicked this off in like the modern past couple years. Donda Deluxe.
Oh yeah, that was an awesome.
Oh yeah, that too.
Fuck Donda Deluxe.
That had like 4 remixes.
You know what? Hold on.
And
also that album just wasn't complete. Let's be honest, it was never complete.
You see this? This is Donda Deluxe. Fuck this album. I have it on vinyl and fuck this album, all right?
Wow, what beautiful album art.
I know, right?
It's just black.
You can see yourself. There you go.
That's hilarious. That has... How did this get approved? There's so much...
It looks like some bullshit that fell off of a fucking spaceship. It's like just a black square.
Disgusting. Donda Deluxe had like 5 part 2s, and all of them were worse except for the jail.
I don't even care about the
no. The jail.
No.
Was so
okay, fine. The jail one was bad.
Jay-Z verse undefeated on jail.
Yes,
original.
I agree. I fully agree. I'm not saying jail is bad. I'm just saying Jail Part 2 is not terrible.
The baby fucks up the whole flow of that song.
We do hate the baby.
I think Marilyn Manson ruins
We do hate the baby.
Facts. But for me, it's the fact that it changes the entire order of the album.
Yeah, like Jail is
that is also
opening, and it's like
that was also
before when I was actually listening to Donda, I made my own like Donda Deluxe playlist where I put in what's that song? Life of the Party, where I thought it belonged, but I kept the order the same and I just dropped the part 2s off because I think they're mid as fuck. And I just left the rest of it. The album should fucking end with "He's Done Miracles on Me." That is the end of the album. I will not hear any discussion of this.
Hey, I'm on the same page, to be honest. As long as you put Life in the Party somewhere in there, then we're good.
Life of the Party's in there. I don't think I even did the other one. Let me see. Where's my Donda playlist? It's here. Donda Edit is what I called it. Yeah. No Child Left Behind is the end. Come to Life and No Child Left Behind. And then Life of the Party, I put in between Jonah and Okay Okay. Because Jonah ends on like that somber note. So then it's like it goes into Life of the Party, which is like more low key, and then Okay Okay brings it back with the energy a little bit.
Isn't it the opposite way? But I know what you mean. I think. Oh wait, you edited anyway. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It just whatever.
Yeah,
that album is a shame.
We want to do a grade for Don Toliver then. See.
Yes.
That left that ship at the sale or whatever.
as we started ranting about deluxe albums, yes.
Yep.
It's a problem. Stop doing it, but also capital.
Yeah. Less is more. Pusha T
done right.
Pusha T taught us less is more. Come on, guys.
All right. So what do you guys give it for a grade?
Purvis?
You go first.
Okay. I mean, I would give this like a B- or a C+ overall. I feel very similarly in terms of like the way this album makes me feel. I feel very similarly to how we felt about Isaiah Rashad, to be honest.
Okay.
It doesn't the highs. It's got fun musical parts. It doesn't do anything for me thematically. It's just it's a vibe.
Okay, that's totally fair.
Okay, but
I'll say.
Okay.
I think the growth is great. I think he fits into the.
That's fair.
Definitely be.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a 40-minute album.
Yeah, this could be.
This could be a 40-minute album.
Easily.
Even if it's not even cutting out a whole song, cut out a verse. Honestly. Okay, but personally, I am around the exact same area. I said BB+. I think starting out with Heaven or Hell, I put Heaven or Hell extremely high, personally. I just like the album. So Heaven or Hell is more in like the A- range, personally. And then Life of a Don just kind of drops off harder. I think Life of a Don has some potential and it does have some good songs, but as an album, it just doesn't really stick. So I think this is a very good step in the right direction. It shows a lot of growth for his sound, for his vocals. And in terms of a theme album, I think he does it very, very well. But there is a lot of room for improvement. It might just, honestly, and like we all said, it might just be excluding certain things.
Yeah.
And I think that would immediately increase the quality.
I agree.
All right.
I get all of what you.
All right. Should we do recommendations?
Our recommendations. Get out of here.
All right. It is a long night.
All right.
I'll start off then. Starting off, I'm gonna do Pale J, a song called "Shameful Game." This is a song that I found randomly one day. I'm pretty sure off of TikTok. I think it's a phenomenal song in my opinion. I would recommend visiting it. Really smooth, like really, really smooth. You can lay back and kick and just chill.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
I'll go next. So I wanted to recommend a song that hit me in nostalgia centers like no other. And it's Linkin Park's Lost. It was recently found or recently released era from the early 2000s. You know, which I think that album's a match. I think Linkin Park's first. Absolutely.
Yes. Underrated.
Yeah.
Underrepresented today.
Underrepresented today. I think Linkin Park is kind of responsible for that. But
yeah. Fair.
But this, and here's the thing, right? Just because of the arc of Linkin Park's career, when I heard that this came out, I was like, no way it's gonna put me directly back at 15 years old hanging out at the mall with but god damn
boy did it.
Boy did it. Like it hits so hard, and I recommend it honestly.
But Jasper?
We are taking it back. 2013. Travis Scott, Hell of a Night, Alfaro.
Phenomenal.
Kylie Jenner's favorite Travis Scott song.
Put it on the Instagram, marketing with their like makeup or whatever. Yep. Phenomenal.
Yep.
Great song.
So we all know I've been yelling it from the rooftops. Alfaro turns 10 this year, May 21st. Going to be 10 years old.
May 21st?
Deep dive is coming. Brandon, we got to get you up to speed on Alfaro so we can get it done.
Is it on Spotify?
No.
It's on SoundCloud, and we will send you a link.
I have a link for you too. Yeah, either way. God, iconic, so good.
It is phenomenal. If it's May 21st, save the date. We'll be doing a deep dive.
That's a Sunday, so we do it the week before. It's out for the weekend. There you go.
You can do that.
Works for me. All right. My second song then. I have finally come to the end of my Griselda deep dives. I've been listening to so much Griselda. It's
How
ridiculous.
Can you not, though?
I've been listening. It's great. I'm like, I'm not complaining, but it's a lot.
There is no feeling better than just hearing West Side Gun go, "Hey yo," as you walk into an office. Like, look, nothing makes me feel like I am in American Psycho, but now.
We had a conversation about Ayo off the podcast just recently, which was A-okay.
Right. You need to have a certain amount of listens to the Griselda to be screaming boom, 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 and say Ayo. At least 8 albums.
Boom, boom, boom is 4. But you get boom, boom, boom privileges after 4 albums.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm literally on the train.
But for me, I approached it from the Side Talk NYC side of things. Hey, yo.
You know what? I will give that as a pass. I will give you that. I'll give you that.
You've heard me do it in the office. People lose their shit.
It's true. But what I'll say then, I have been coming on the end of it. I found a song by Chantel May, who's actually an R&B artist, featuring West Side Gun. It is the most bizarre mixture of music you'll probably ever hear. It is like... Right now. I didn't even say the song name yet. It's a song called Until I Say So. It is the most beautiful voiced female singer I've heard in so long. It's phenomenal singer. And then West Side Gun comes in with just like a Griselda rap line, and it fits perfectly. I don't know how it works, but it's amazing. So I highly recommend Until I Say So.
All right. I want to recommend an artist I discovered maybe an hour and a half before the show started.
Nice.
The Spotify DJ recommended him to me, and I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" I was like,
my DJ did the same thing, and I was like, "Ooh!"
Like, it was the most weird and unique mix of sounds.
What is this melody?
So I'm recommending the song "Cold Beer" by Lesane, right? And it's weird because the guy is, you click on his Spotify, he'll say like his biggest influence are.
Wait, spell it out for the people. How do you spell it?
All capitals Lesane, right?
Okay.
And the song I'm recommending is Cold Beer, right? And like you click it, and like it says like, oh, his biggest influences are like Chief Keef and Michael Jackson, and that comes across.
What kind of mixture is that?
Right?
Yes.
But that comes across. But at the same time, when I was listening to it, I was like, is this an indie rock band from early 2000s New York? Right? Like it feels almost as much.
What's going on here?
It feels almost as much like the Arctic Monkeys or Jet or the White Stripes as it does Chief Keef.
Wild.
And it's
I'm saving the whole album.
Yeah,
I'm saving the whole album.
I've listened to a few of his songs. There's some Cold Beer sounds a little bit more towards the rock side than the hip hop side, but he has other ones that make it clear that this guy is a hip hop artist at least. So
Bruh.
I loved it. It was like such a weird, because like I got recommended 2 songs by the DJ so far, and like one of them was this song, which clearly hit, and the other one was the most annoying song I've ever heard. Like, imagine if
balance. Everything's balanced.
Don Toliver's Hook
That's all things should be.
The club was a 2-minute song.
Oh my god,
it's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But also, I should have did my DJ recommended song. Okay, I'm gonna do that next week. I'm excited.
Purvis, you asked what Chief Keef and Michael Jackson influence sounds like. These bitches like hee hee.
Okay.
Jasper, you're gonna get put on a list for that. I say that.
Probably the same one.
There's going to be so many people hunting you, including myself.
Worst list. I gotta say, I don't gotta tell my neighbors when I move. Like,
I'm sure someone out there's made a mashup.
That's hilarious.
Of like MJ with like Chief Keef verses over it or something. I'm sure it's out there.
I mean, Chief Keef's the
what was
goat.
the one I saw that was like, it was MJ and Bobby Schmurda.
Wow.
It was I Don't Care About Us and Hot N-Word.
Wild.
What a mixture.
I want to see Pop Smoke on The Girl Is Mine. Make it happen. Let's go, internet.
Jazz,
it probably exists.
You want to send this out for the night?
Yeah, my second rec is someone else I've been fucking with heavy. We talked about him on the Blitz episode. Daniel Deluxe, guy who did the Ghost Runner soundtrack with a single, unfortunately, the single format that he put out called Blood Magic. And it starts out super intense, and becomes the most goddamn, like, danceable, bopping shit you'll ever hear out of, like, heavy synth.
What was that called?
Blood Magic.
That sounds cool. That sounds like some Game of Thrones.
And have you guys ever seen that that GIF of the duck that dances where it's like it's doing like the steps where its feet are going like this, like in?
Oh.
I'm gonna find it. I got you. Hold on.
That's what you were dancing like?
No, like you can play this, it will line up perfectly.
Yeah. It's like the one Spider-Man GIF that times with any music. Have you ever seen that?
It's that. It's exactly that, but this duck thing. Here we go.
I don't even know what the Spider-Man GIF you're talking about.
Here it is.
It's like
I'm opening it.
One.
Here we go. Visit. Let's visit this page so I can actually see the thing. Here we go. Screen share.
We're ending with a meme.
Look at the duck.
Always.
Going to bed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen this.
Real quick. Cue up Blood Magic and just like skip to the middle and you'll see what I'm talking about. Oh, and hello. That changed sides. There we go.
I do not know how to do that yet. So I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I do not know how to play it so it's recorded the right channel.
Okay, yeah, it does line up perfectly. It does line up perfectly.
Thank you. And then it goes to like pole dancing, but you get the idea.
That's my guy. That is my friend.
I love it.
That's my fucking boy right there.
That's my guy.
This is my son.
I'm gonna call him Duck Goffles.
Yes.
Okay, we're done. I'm done. We're done. Absolutely not. Signing off.
And on that note,
memes and
tip your waitresses. Good night.
Facts.